Hey there, Mortal Con. All right. I have something to tell you for today. Shall I tell you about Weak Man? He's a villain from the lore, you know, of Endabody. This seemingly weak, ugly, elderly human with spindly thin arms and legs and a fat gut and a costume that he got from a cheap Halloween store is a villain that grew up poor and dreamed of awakening some great power when he came of age to discover his true art, but was left with a seemingly disappointing skill that nobody ever heard of, and thus had a hard life and was heavily bullied by those with more powerful and flashy combat abilities, and grew resentful of the world of heroes and champions that was so blessed that that he that could live out their dreams that he once wanted. It seemed like things would never change for him because his true art was weakness, a skill that left his body in shambles and rather frail and shabby in appearance. He even was on the verge of death from an attack by one of his more beloved classmates, who was a smug, arrogant jerk who thought they could become a great champion one day, who had a very strong offensive oriented, true arts that could create lightning, who saw Weak Man as a target to beat up and show his strength, simply because of difference in their abilities and him not liking Weak Man glaring at him mildly, while he was bullying him one day. Weak Man surrounded Weak Man was surrounded and thrown into a fight because of this by his classmates who ganged up on him and were certain Weak Man would lose until the true potential and power of his skill weakness came into effect. For you see, it had the ability no one knew until that fight. It could counter any true art and allow one to become the weakness of any other true artist. The lightning attack was blocked by rubber suddenly, and Weak Man shot him with a dense rubbery ball that came out of nowhere and struck instructably fast. The other classmates couldn't accept this attack, but Weak Man defeated all of them with his newfound power, one after the other. When his classmates were all bruised and battered and rendered helpless before him, he laughed and felt a surge of power. He discovered he liked crushing and humiliating people and getting back at others for every bit of meanness and disrespect that came his way. And because of this developed sadistic streak after this, he would later go on to become a villain that at first was mocked as well, until the other villains in Crime Family saw what he could do and quickly changed their tune. That is how Weak Man became a mercenary and a eliminator who would be hired for jobs that keep the capes off their tails and capture, defeat, and even kill with those once mock powers. And it made him one of the top assassins in the world, whose power became feared and the whispers and the words of caution and danger, even among the strongest heroes of St. Joan. Ooh. Yeah, so this guy can, counter. So this guy basically has the power that, basically basically counter everybody's, true arts. It is pretty powerful. Not without weaknesses, but pretty powerful, yeah. Not without weaknesses of its own, but pretty powerful. Even I dread to fear it. I actually defeated this guy, not by brute forcing him, but, by more peaceful means. Anyway, I'll see you later. Remember to fly like bat and shine like the moon for weirder stuff dreams are made of. Bye-bye, and don't forget to like and subscribe and give me your name. Goodbye.